This is part 2 of my Turk-Torial. Today we are going to season and cook the turkey, and I will be going through all the preparations. I'm going to go through the ingredients next, and then we'll take a look at the turkey. It's been brining for 3 days. I've drained off the water, and now we're going to prep it. We're going to go through the dry ingredients first. Of course, good old salt, black pepper. I like using some chili powder, and we're going to use some fresh sage, rosemary, and thyme. I got this from my garden. I'm going to take the time to strip all these off of the stems, and then we're going to chop that up fine, add it all to this bowl, and mix it up. Okay, I forgot to mention garlic powder. I'm going to add some of that. You'll notice I really don't measure things because I've been doing it for a long time. I just kind of guess. But I would say 2 tablespoons of each is fine, depending on the size of the turkey, depending on your tastes. So that's the salt, that's the garlic powder. These are all the fresh herbs that I just cut up. This is the pepper, black pepper. And then this is the chili pepper, ground. And I've got sage in there, but I like putting a little cumin in there as well. And this rub is really up to you. It's up to your flavors, but now you're going to mix this all together and set this aside for later. Now, some people put stuffing in their bird. I never do that. Getting the temperature perfect for the bird is so important, and I don't want to try to get the stuffing done and the bird, and I have a tendency to feel like it dries it out. So what I usually do is I'll put fresh apples and oranges in the cavity of the turkey. So this will give it some flavor. It will also add some needed moisture to the bird from the inside, and it also helps with the drippings that end up in the bottom of the pan that you will use to baste. These aren't going to be really eaten. You just want them small enough so that they fit into the cavity of the bird. But you can see all this beautiful juice from this nice orange will give it a kind of a sweet flavor, the bird. And it'll steam it with this, with all this moisture, and it'll infuse itself into the meat. Okay, here's our bird. It's been brining for 3 days. So what's really important to do is to take off this plastic thing that tucks the legs in. I found out that if you keep the legs tucked in, sometimes the breast meat doesn't cook all the way through. So opening this up really helps it. Take out your turkey neck. And also, there's usually a pocket here in the front where the head used to be, where the giblets are. Make sure you take that out, or you'll have this piece of paper in there for the whole cooking process, which you don't want. Oh, and if you notice one of these things, throw it away. It's worthless. We're going to go with temperature only. You can see that this turkey wants to lean to one side or the other. Sometimes I put celery ends underneath to keep it centered, but this year I'm going to use potatoes. Just going to throw a couple of potatoes on either side, and it'll keep the bird from kind of moving around to keep it centered. Keeping it away from the side, I think, is important. You're going to have to wrestle with this thing to get it out. It's kind of stuck down there between some of the bones. So just chuck this thing. One more potato right there. There we go. So now that kind of keeps it up off of the bottom a little bit and keeps it centered. Now what we can do is we can fill that cavity. You can put some garlic in there too if you want, onions if you don't like the sweet idea. This looks like it's going to be the perfect amount. Okay, the cavity is filled. And now we're going to take a stick of butter. We're going to take all of our dry ingredients. I'm going to microwave this till it's liquefied and add that to that. Then a splash of olive oil. And this is going to be used to coat the entire turkey. Okay, I've melted the butter. It took about 30 seconds or 40 seconds in the microwave. Now I'm going to add all the dry goods. And we're going to do a splash of oil. Now, just mix this all together, and you're basically making a paste that you're going to coat the entire turkey with. And the reason you want the oil and the butter is because it coats all the meat and kind of locks in the juices, and also helps it get golden brown. I didn't wash the turkey, by the way, when it came out of the brine. It's not worth it. By washing off this thing, it'll just spread more around your sink, and it doesn't really change much. It's been refrigerated for 3 days. It'll be fine. So you can see that the butter is kind of creating a nice, and all the ingredients are creating a nice kind of paste, almost. Make sure you get the tips of the wings. You got to make them nice and crispy, or my sister Gia will not like them. And then make sure you coat the underside of the legs and the thighs. And remember, when you're making a turkey, you're not just making a turkey, you're making what will eventually become turkey soup afterwards. So the potatoes and all the juices from the turkey are going to be used once you have leftover turkey. So all these ingredients will just come in handy and will make everything taste wonderful. All right, that's about it. Now I'm going to add a cup of water just to the bottom. Try not to get in on the turkey so you don't wash off everything you just put on. That's just to keep it from scorching before it starts to drip and all that. Now you can always add a little bit more seasoning as it goes, but this is the basics of the turkey. I'm setting it to 375. I usually just go online and see what they suggest. It's 13 minutes per pound at 350, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than that. It's going to be about 3 hours or so. But what's really important is to not just look something up and ignore the turkey. Keep an eye on it. You're going to use a meat thermometer, and you want to stick it into the breast meat because that's the part that's going to dry out. And then you're going to want to put it in the thigh too. Try not to do it near the bone. What's going to happen is I'm going to cook this for a while, and then once it gets golden brown looking, which will be about halfway through, I'm going to shield the top of the turkey just with a little bit of foil right here. That'll help keep the breast from overcooking, and any juices and steam that come up just kind of go back down onto the turkey breast. So I'm going to pop this in the oven. It's almost up to temperature, and I'm not covering it. I keep it completely open. There are some people who like to baste their turkey, and sometimes I do that, but for me, with the brining, I've never had to. Oh, that's the alarm saying this thing's ready to go in.
1 hour later.
This is after the first hour. It's been in there. It's already looking pretty nice. I'm going to probably go for another half hour and then shield the breast with some foil. All right, it's been about an hour and a half. It's looking really nice. Now I'm going to just shield the breast like that. Not the whole thing, because you don't want the thing to be steamed in there. You just want it to be protected from the heat. We're eventually going to start using the meat thermometer and look for a temperature of 160. The books say 165, but I like 160 just so it doesn't get too overcooked. Once you take the bird out, it's going to continue to cook for a little bit. So you want to make sure it's a little bit underdone. so that it can continue to get to temperature without drying out.
2 hours later.
All right, it's nearing 140 or 145, and there are people. Okay, so another about 45 minutes or so. There's our tin with my stuffing that's in the shape of a skull, and this will be ready to come out.
1 eternity later.
There it is, all done. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but the breast meat is super juicy and ready to eat. Good luck with your bird. Happy Thanksgiving.
Many unbearable hours later.
Here's our spooky stuffing skull, man.